welcome to the Book Bar. It's Tuesday night. That means we are live, as we typically always are, unless we have an illness and we can't make it. I'm Justin. With me, as always, is my brother Tyler, and Jeremy from Templar Pops is joining us today. Templar, Let's start with you, man. What's going on?
Not much. I just realized I was live on YouTube just a second.
You've made it. You've made it, my friend.
I have. Surprise live. How you guys doing?
I've been a little ill, a little under the weather, but am starting to feel a little better. So like right now, sweating a little bit. I'm sure it looks good on camera, but other than that, yeah, keep on trucking. Tyler, what's going on?
Hey, Justin. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the BookBarBros. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Just passes out.
So
I'm actually impervious to all human ailments, so I've been feeling great.
That explain that cold sore.
Wow, Justin. That's because I like to party. But no, I actually did get a little, I told you that everyone in the family was sick, and I somehow was just not getting sick, even though I am typically...
Doesn't make any sense.
I'm notorious for, like, when everybody gets something, I get hit, like, so much harder than everyone. I'm just, like, down for the count of, like, the worst immune system. And somehow, like, Carrie and Max are sick. I felt fine. And then it started on Sunday. I finally started to get, like, a sore throat. Got worse Monday, but today, like, I actually feel really good today. So I don't know. Maybe I really am. I'm just getting stronger with age. It's incredible.
You're just getting stronger.
The secret is I drink constantly. So
yeah,
that's got to be the answer.
That has to be it, because that's my secret too.
Yep. That's definitely do you ever have it, like, if you have a cold, right, or something, and like maybe you got a runny nose or a twitchy nose or something, and you have a few beers that, like, you almost instantly feel better. Like, I literally, whenever I have a nose that's running and it's driving me crazy with a cold, I will have a few beers, and it almost always works better than cold medicine. Well, maybe I'm an alcoholic. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Justin, it's because you're having withdrawal. I mean, that's pretty clear. That's like the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode, where they all think they have the flu, and they're just getting progressively sicker and sicker throughout the episode. And then they start drinking, and then they all instantly feel better. And they're like, oh, we're just alcoholics. That's all that happened there. But, I think what you could do, though, you could essentially say that about any drug. Like, you never have, like, just a little bit of a cold, and then, you know what? You just shoot some heroin, and you just, like, instantly feel better. Do you guys get that? Do you guys have that? That's been my experience.
Classic.
Little kids just need to smoke cigarettes, and then they'll be great.
Exactly.
Right,
take it from us here at the BookBarBros. Little kids be smoking cigarettes. It would help them feel better.
Alcohol, lots of it.
And speaking of that, let's talk about our sponsor right there, Bigly Chewy, right?
Oh yeah, from Wookiee of the Year, Chewbacca. It's an out of here original, real home run of a product, and of course, Justin, it is available anywhere where tobacco products are marketed to children. So make sure to pick up yours today.
Oh, well done. Yeah, Templar. That just pops up perfectly right over Templar's face.
That is a problem that I just realized, like, all of our banners and stuff, all of our little videos we like to play, like, of course, of ostriches and whatnot, they're all right over Templar.
Let's just play clips all stream.
All stream.
Now...
We've got lots of ostriches queued up, so be ready for that.
I will point out that we are doing a behind-the-scenes video here tonight, so literally will be behind the scene.
Look at that. You get it, Justin? He's going to be literally behind the scene.
Mm-hmm.
You are only going to get quips like that here.
That's right. No, you don't get puns like that anywhere. No, not anywhere. No. But here, bad comedy... Mild Star Wars knowledge. That's what you get with us.
Give me some more.
Jedi John, Mad Hatter, Pop Sith, everybody joining the live. What's going on? We're talking Book of Boba Fett tonight.
We are.
You have to take Flintstones vitamins. I used to pop those things like candy back in the day. Who didn't? Templar, did you take Flintstones vitamins, or were those still real people back when you were young and they hadn't made them into vitamins yet?
Right. Now, Fred was his next door neighbor. What are you talking about?
I just walk next door and lick Fred.
Right. Yeah, no. Templar likes to do a lot of acid, so he's
okay.
He's done some crazy stuff.
We always like to talk about, we always start with, that's right, Jedi John, sponsored by Dustix.
Indeed.
That's another good sponsor that we should have. I think
we
should get our people in touch with the Dustic people.
That's a great point. We actually have, Justin, if I'm not mistaken, don't we have a clip of, or do we not have that one? We don't have that one here. I smoked
the Dustix
on stream, but yeah, we don't have that one up. Yeah, we're going to have to pull that one.
Well, a missed opportunity for the viewers.
Damn it. Yeah. All right. We'll be better.
Well, we're talking Book of Boba Fett. So, all right. We're halfway in, fellows. Okay. And is there 6 or 7? I thought I heard 7 episodes.
I think I heard 7, yeah.
It's 6 or 7. I thought it was 7. So, now I'm going to give here's my overall take, my 30,000 foot view take on the Book of Boba Fett. So
here we go. Buckle up, everybody.
Okay. This is going to be good. This is going to be good.
And you heard it here, folks.
Okay. So let's say I actually had tempered expectations. Like I didn't go into this thing thinking it was going to be absolutely phenomenal. I was like, I hope it's good. I hope it's interesting and fun. And, a little bit nostalgic. That's part of what everybody loves about Star Wars is the nostalgia of it, right? It's a very different IP than Marvel. It's handled very differently. But that being said, there's certain things that I want to see. I want to see upgraded effects. I don't want to see, some of the cheesy characters. Now, again, okay, Max Rebo makes an appearance, right, in episode 1. Fine. I love to just see Max Rebo in the background. Great. Okay. Great.
Really, one of my big criticisms is not enough Max Rebo.
Not enough.
Hear
Max
more
Rebo.
about his transition to a new venue. What was that like? Did he need
to
get new band members? I don't know.
More jizz wailing, right? Is what I think we all wanted. We all wanted more jizz wailing, and we did not get enough.
Couldn't agree more.
So
show me the jizz.
Show me the jizz wailing, dash wailing. So that's a real thing. That's really what it's called. So, but it's like it starts out. And, we all knew it's like the big reveal in episode 1 was going to be that he escapes from the Sarlacc. But that's something we all knew had to happen. Okay. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's like, is it neat to see that? Yeah, it was neat to see the scene. And I kind of like the way the scene played out. I thought it was weird that he was like in the Sarlacc's belly, but then just somehow punches a hole through hard sand like 30 feet away. I thought that was weird. But, but
especially given the diagram we have of the Sarlacc. Does make it a bit suspicious, but that's all right. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and so, and then of course there's the fight scene. There it is. Yeah,
right over Templar's face.
But and if you think about where he was and then where he somehow gets out instead of going straight up, it doesn't really make sense to me. But anyways, we'll let that slide. And then there's that fight, that they have in the street, which is very, I thought, poorly choreographed. Then we have the crouching tiger, hidden dragon moment where they're scaling the walls very awkwardly with harnesses that again, it's just, I look at it and I just think, like missed opportunities. Like there's just little things that I think as a director, and I'm not Jon Favreau, right? I'm not Jon Favreau. I'm not Dave Filoni. I get that. All that aside, but I still watch the finished product and think nobody was like, ooh, we gotta fix some of this in post.
I know, I kind of feel like about this episode, we're talking episode 3 today. They had their car chase, and I just did not think that was done well. I thought it felt slow. Like somehow it seemed like on their little motorbikes.
Well, it was slow.
That like they're going really slow. It seems like they're gearing up, like oh shit, here comes a race, and they hop on and just kind of like ding ding, like just kind of puttering along like those things are mopeds. And like I couldn't believe, like again, this is Disney, right? This is Star Wars. Like holy shit, Star Wars when it first came out, like back in the 70s, right, broke the mold for how you do special effects. It blew people's minds because they couldn't believe that they were able to put something like that on the screen. And now it's like, what is this, man? They can't even do effects that we've been doing for 30, 40 years. Well, like it's a car chase scene, but instead of the motorcycles having wheels, they hover, and it looked bad. It looked slow. Right. The rainbow Vespas. I couldn't
Templar,
believe it.
I think he's got strong feelings. Templar, you loved the colored Vespa scene, right?
Yes, it was precious.
All right.
The episode was going great till then. I liked the characters, even though they seemed a little out of place at first. Their makeup and their costume was a bit not Star Wars. That's the best way to put it. But yeah, and I saw that, and I'm like, what is this?
I know, wasn't that weird? It was so slow.
Now, I get it that the gentleman they were chasing was just the mayor's assistant. Perhaps his driving skills weren't great, but do you pick him as the character for the chase scene? Because he can only use cruise control. He's going about 25 miles an hour.
I don't think he was going that fast.
Oh, I'll turn it. Here you go. Yeah,
right.
And then, like the corner scenes, the carts just kind of all like were like boom, 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 off we go. And I'm like,
what was that? I know I kept expecting like a runner to just like pass them, just like on your left, and he's just checking his pulse as he's going by. Like that was at a crawl, man. And it's just not, there was nothing visually interesting about it, right? It was just a really slow chase. There was nothing like cool that happened. It looked clunky. The motorcycles like didn't look, even when they were trying to do moves and stuff, like it just looked shitty. Yeah. I don't know how else to say it. It was bad. And again, it blows my mind that is possible with the people that are behind it, with the money that's behind it. With the brand that you have, like, how can you do something like that? You know, Star Wars was supposed to be about doing things that no one thought was possible and breaking the mold of what you could see. And instead, it's like, it just seems old and clunky and kind of crappy. It's really baffling and depressing. It's depressing. Right?
Who do you blame for that? Is it the director? Because Robert Rodriguez is an incredible director. I haven't liked everything he's done.
Right.
He definitely stylized. When I watched the first episode and watched who directed it, I'm like, Robert Rodriguez directed that. It did not look like anything he'd ever done before. Like just the stylization and, you know, he does really over the top stuff, and there's nothing over the top in any of these episodes.
No, but I mean, that happens. You know, I mean, like there are directors where somehow, like inexplicably, have done like one of the greatest movies ever, and then like one of the shittiest movies ever. And you think, how can that happen? Like, how can they have crafted such an excellent movie and then done an absolute piece of shit? Like some directors, that really does happen. Like you just maybe it's the studio or the other people they're around, or maybe the time frames they were given. Who knows, right? But whatever it was, this did not work out. But I think it's a lot more than just the director, because again, we've now seen this for 3 consecutive episodes where there's always kind of something in each one where just something's off and you're surprised that it's gotten through. You know what I mean? Like, how are there not more people like, no, we have to reshoot this. We need to make this look better. There needs to be more bells and whistles here, right? I just now we've seen it repeatedly, so I don't think he's to blame. I think there's kind of a deeper problem happening.
Yeah, I mean, like Jedi John says, he's waiting for them to say it's morphin' time. A lot of Power Ranger jokes and a Voltron. I think I heard Dan of Nerds say something like it was the Green Ranger. It was a Voltron of cringe. That whole scene with those kids in the bikes, and you know, a lot of this. I mean, you know, the writing, the story is all Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni still. I mean, and you know, the directors are coming in and directing the scripts, and so, and again, it almost seems like now. I think. The reason I kind of expected this, I would say, is because it's not like, to me, every episode of The Mandalorian was great. There was cool stuff in The Mandalorian, and they hooked you the absolute right way. This is always my number one.
They hooked you immediately, yeah. Yeah,
they hooked you immediately because, you know, you get The Mandalorian, there's some cool scenes, cool moments, and then he gets there. There's the IG unit, awesome. The IG unit.
But think about that scene with the IG, like. That looked cooler than anything we've seen in the.
By far. Yeah, by far. The saloon style shootout, right? Then they go in, and what do you see? You see a baby Yoda, and the world is on fire, right? Like the world blows up. So then they've got you hooked. So then they can have some Fetch Quest, you know, middle of the ground episodes, and you don't really care because baby Yoda's there, and so it doesn't really matter. And then they, you know, of course, in the season 2 finale, spoiler alert, all that stuff, you know, Luke Skywalker comes in. But it's like, we love The Mandalorian because of the Luke Skywalker cameo at the end of one episode. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if someone said, why should I watch The Mandalorian that hasn't seen it, but generally knows of or likes Star Wars? There are several things I could point to. I could be like, well, did you ever like Yoda? Did you, you know, like the baby Yoda? And of course, the Luke Skywalker scene, I'd be like, yeah, you got to watch it. It's amazing. You know, if you were an old school Star Wars fan, you don't watch the new stuff, that's why you would watch it. The Book of Boba Fett, it's like if I were just randomly at a bar shooting the shit with people and they were like, why should I watch it? And I'd be like, because it's Star Wars. It's kind of nostalgic.
It's
so
really fun.
Yeah, and
it's,
I would say
it's really fun. Yep.
Well, and I would say like with the Mandalorian
Not bad,
season
not
1.
bad. I just
Right.
there's too many things to let me nitpick. Like I don't want the show to let me nitpick, but it does.
Yeah, but like with Mandalorian season 1, there were some clunky aspects or some things that weren't great, but they also had moments that were awesome, and they had some awesome moments very early and had those hooks very early, which is much different than this show, where now in the Book of Boba there's been no hooks. I mean, there's nothing like that you're crazy invested in, or you're like, oh my gosh, I need to know what's happening with that, and then nothing that's really been spectacular, awesome, and a lot, even more clunkiness in the first 3 episodes than I think in all of season 1 of Mandalorian. I mean, like, because the clunkiness is really bad. Like that chase we just watched in episode 3. I mean, I don't remember anything that bad in the first season of Mandalorian. But then the second season, to me, and this is why I'm disappointed, because the second season of The Mandalorian, I felt like they really hit their stride because they realized what makes a great show is good storytelling, right? It can't just be that it's Star Wars and you're in a Star Wars world kind of thing. It was, they created this father-son relationship between the Mandalorian and Grogu and, their adventures together. Yes. And so you actually have this thread that's weaving through it all. You're seeing, the relationship between the two characters grow over time and evolve. Like, that's interesting. You become very invested in those relationships. And so I'm like, okay, they clearly realize now, because everyone has been talking about that's the way to go. You need a more deep, complex plot. You need to really flesh out characters and relationships to get people interested in them. And instead, they just kind of went right back to an season 1 style, where it's just, here's this thing that they have to go take care of, and now the next episode just resets, and now here's exactly. It's like you're playing a video game. And this one, the guy from Dodgeball shows up, and apparently a bunch of Utes are whacking off in his tool shed, and he's
stole my stapler,
right? And he's gonna give him a bag of rupees if he goes and gets rid of the kids. And it's like, it's just another one of those things. You can see that in a video game. Character shows up, tells you can go on this side quest if you go take care of these hoodlums. I just don't get it. Like, again, we're not learning enough about the characters, the relationships between the characters, and then even like the politics of the world. It also feels clunky. Like think about where the twins show up, right? And so apparently the twins show up to apologize for trying to kill him.
Well, hold on. I want to get before we get into the twins. Like let's actually break episode 3 down before. All right. Like let's go through that before. I kind of started with episode 1, but like let's real quick before we get to episode 3 talk about good things. This has already been negative. Templar, what do you like about it? What do you like the most about it?
I do like the writing. The writing's been solid. I've enjoyed the story, but like Tyler just said, I haven't found myself emotionally invested, except for the relationship between Boba Fett and the young Tusken Raider.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's
the kid one,
it's over. They just completely ended that. There's never going to be anything else about that. So.
And you're right. And that was the one thing they spent a lot of time trying to get you invested in, and then now that's already gone. Right.
Episodes and that story's finished. So, and like, I do like the huts. The huts are cool. And there's a lot of good things about the show. I love the scenery, and I love seeing different things about Tatooine.
Oh, for sure.
I like seeing the expanded Mos Espa, the expanded Tatooine. Yeah, I like that.
I don't need to see Boba Fett walking down the palisade one more time. We've seen that in 3 episodes now, where he's walked towards some place in the city, and it's the same cityscape. I'm kind of done with that.
I've got to be honest. Why does what's the actor, the guy's name from Dodgeball? Does anybody remember his name? He's like a great character actor, but I mean, the guy from Office Space, but right, but what was I talking about? What did I just say? I totally lost my train of thought.
Oh, he's sweating.
Stephen Root.
Stephen Root?
Stephen Root's his name. Yep, he's the guy from from Office Space, the stapler guy. He's from Dodgeball.
Oh, yeah. So he was like, no one respects you, which is a weird thing to say to Boba Fett. But then you think about it, and you're like, yeah, first of all, it's him and Fennec Shan and apparently 2 Gamorrean guards. That's it. That's his whole crew. Like, how has he not just been assassinated already? And then they try to assassinate him. And this is a writing thing. This is a writing problem for me, because Tyler wants to talk about this. I want to talk about the Black Chrysanthemum fight,
Right.
Got to talk about that. But we talked about the assassination attempt in episode 1. It's like, why not just bomb him? Why not just shoot him? Why jump around them with shields without guns and then just take turns poking him until they escape? Like, that's not an assassination attempt. That's just a bad writing way to try and create conflict, but it's poorly done. I would say the twins. I love the introduction of the twins. Like, when they showed up, when he was in the one casino place or whatever, they show up and the music plays and they carry him out and how it's all bowed because they're so heavy. And Tyler and I were talking. It's like, how look at those people are working. The people carrying that thing, man, they are. I was like, is that all they need? Like, what are they?
And that
people?
hot
That's all they need?
desert of Tatooine, carrying around those
them?
2 fucking behemoths. I can't even imagine. Couldn't pay me enough.
A cat to dry himself off with.
Right.
He was,
But yeah, I want to talk about that whole fight scene too, because that drove me crazy instantly. So it's like,
I did like the train scene though. Before we get into episode 3, I actually thought the train parts of the train scene, some scene parts were, but like the train chase was kind of cool, and it was kind of fun, and and the droid. My favorite part. I think, like Tyler said,
the engineer.
The droid was the best part. He was awesome, and then he is in there busting it, getting it done, and then he bails the second Boba Fett shows up. He goes flying out of there like General Grievous, and then he crawls away.
Yep. Told you, if we ever start a train company, we are hiring those droids by the drove.
Augie says that right there. Yeah, movie group battle 101. You can only attack one at a time, and that we're going to talk about that in the Black Chrysanthemum too. Yeah. So again, it's like, okay, first episodes are a little slow. There's not really that Baby Yoda hook. Now you can only have so many Baby Yodas. Maybe the Hutts were supposed to be the hook. Like, oh, the Hutts are back. There's more Hutts. It's not just Jabba. So that was neat, and the train scene was neat. I told Tyler when we did our instant reaction, I thought it was weird that train's going like 1 billion miles an hour, and all the time they were on it, and then all of a sudden it stops, and like all the Tuscans run up, like they were all just right there. I thought that was weird.
That to me just means it's a very well timed and planned heist. I mean, that's you just got to give credit to the Tuscans. I think people underestimate them too much. As we've seen, much more complex society.
I didn't get the first time we saw the train because they all just kind of walked up on top of the dune and were like, hey, we're right here, instead of just going the other direction behind the dune where they could see. I didn't really get that.
And like, if these people are supposed to just own the desert and be living there all the time, you think they would be able to just like disappear without you ever noticing them. Like, how is this train moving at 1,000 miles per hour just like picking them off? Like, don't they have tunnels or something in the sand? Don't they know how to hide or camouflage themselves? I don't know. Don't buy it one bit. But now, Justin, can we finally talk about the ex-gladiator Wookiee assassination attempt?
No. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Well, we can go. Okay. How does episode 3? Is that how it starts?
Well, it starts with Dodgeball Guy with Stephen Root, and then like Boba confronts a gaggle of hoodlums, finds out that Dodgeball Guy has been price gouging, but then. Yeah,
Power Rangers are not happy about it.
No, and so then he brings this gang of hooligans under his employ, and
randomly out of the blue, which didn't that also seem weird?
It did, because he doesn't know anything about these kids, if they have any skill. Like, how does he know that they can fight? What if they just like hack buildings and stuff?
How does he know they won't just kill him and rob him and take the palace?
What if they were stealing water for death sticks? Like, they are absolute degenerates, right? I mean, he doesn't know any of that. Instead, he just puts them under the employ, under the assumption that they must be excellent fighters. And like, how? Have you ever gone to like a poverty-stricken place? Is everybody there just like amazing at combat? Like, no, that's not the nobody has time for that.
With robot eyes and sweet colored speeders are there.
Those are the ones you gotta look at. But yeah, so then they go back to the place, and then the Wookiee attacks him, and I gotta tell you, I was taken out of it right away.
Right from the very beginning. I know what you're gonna say. I'll let you say it.
Because he opens up the Bacta tank and he grabs him, and you're like, what? Like,
shoot him in the head.
We saw you carrying a gigantic gun the first time we saw you. You were there to assassinate him. You could have just killed him right there. game over. And so this is the thing, and this is why this is absolutely a writing thing. So if any, you can blame like Bobra and stuff for this, because this is terrible writing.
I absolutely agree.
What
he doesn't even try to kill him. He doesn't even
Right.
try to kill him. He just grabs him by the throat and doesn't even like try to choke him out. He throws him. He just throws him away.
Right, like
Yeah,
I want to be there while he was hatching this plan with everybody, and then I'm
Oh
gonna
my
sneak up on him
goodness,
in the back of the tank
no.
while he's sleeping, and they're all like, and then you're gonna shoot him, and he's like, no, I'm gonna try to throw him to death. And they're like, well, what if he starts
Throw him
fighting?
around the room
And
to
they're
death.
like, well, no problem there. I'll just hug him to death. Checkmate. Like that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. So what you would really do if you were a writer, and that scene would have to happen, such that the Wookiee would be there without his gun for whatever reason, and is going to try to pull off the assassination. You have to write that in, but in reality, you're not going to show that. So what would you do if the Wookiee was really right there? You'd kill Boba Fett, right? This would be like a Game of Thrones thing. Boba Fett is dead. He had to jump on him, and now the story is going somewhere else. Or you do something else such that Boba Fett has a split second to make sure that he can react when they're about to assassinate him. Maybe just as the Wookiee is about to shoot in the Bacta tank, one of the kids catches him, stops him, the gunshot goes off, then Boba breaks out, and then the rest of the fight happens, right? But like the idea that the Wookiee would be there without his gun to assassinate him is nonsense. That's insane.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Templar, right? I say, here's what I was thinking is all you do is, instead of the jump scare, he grabs him by the throat, is instead he's in the Bacta tank, and then you cut to like the feet of Chrysanthemum walking in the room. It pans back. You see his back. He's walking towards him with his gun. He pulls it up. He opens the Bacta tank. He points it at his head, and he gets shot in the arm by Fennec Shan from behind.
Right.
Because she follows him, right?
Yeah.
Now Boba wakes up, and we've got to fight. Okay.
And we have the
But
same. The rest of the fight could happen. He could lose his gun and that shot, and then everything happens the way that it happened. But you have to explain why he decided he was just going to throw him around the room. Like that's so.
He's bored, man. He's bored.
Right?
Hey,
he likes to play with his food.
There's 5 speeders in that show that could definitely stand to be thrown around and smashed for no reason, and I feel like he's the guy to do it.
That's a good point.
Smash the hell out of those things, and we could be done with that situation forever.
I mean, that would have been a better use of
Templar
this
loves
time.
those. I really hope they come out with Funko Pops of all those kids with speeders, and I'm going to get that whole set for Templar so he can put it on display behind himself.
They're all the big ones, big pop rides.
Yeah, oversized pop rides. They're going to be $50 a piece. Yeah, the good stuff.
Oh man. What was I going to say? But you're right about the writing. It just seems. How do they not know that wasn't right? These guys are brilliant writers.
Again, I don't know. Yep, I agree. There's a lot of stuff that's really been baffling these first few episodes.
It's stuff like that. It's not just us. It's not just us. It's not just the nitpick. I mean, like, I've heard these similar complaints from lots of people. Like on YouTube, I watch lots of review videos. I like to see what other people think. Because sometimes I think I'm being too harsh on something, or sometimes I think maybe I like something, maybe what I shouldn't, or I don't know. But like I like to see what other people are saying, and really like the overall, it seems like has been like it's fine if you're a Star Wars fan and you like it, it's fine. Maybe it's the Eternals of Star Wars.
That one moment could happen, though. That one moment could happen, and then makes everything make sense, and you just watch the 4 episodes as they are. It's just learning the characters and your situation, and
it could, boring, but I would say it's getting to the point where the thing that needs to blow us away needs to be cooler and cooler with every passing episode. You know what I mean? Like. It can't just be like, oh, and then here's a neat fight scene in episode 4. So that's why you should trudge through the first 3 episodes, random person I'm talking to about the show. Like, no, like it would have to be pretty stellar for me now to recommend the show, because I think the first 3 episodes are honestly pretty weak. I think I had higher expectations. I really thought that coming off season 2 of The Mandalorian, which I thought was just really good. The ending was just epic. And I just felt like they were getting an idea of how to write a little bit better for Star Wars. Because I think season 2 of The Mandalorian is far from perfect, but to me it was a step in the right direction and ended in one of the most epic ways. Like, holy shit, was it cool. And so like I had high expectations. Like, I think they're getting this figured out. I think they're going to be pouring more money into it. I think they're going to try to start building the franchise the way that Marvel is. And then I see this and I'm kind of like, oh man, like to me, this is worse. It's a step backwards.
This
and
should
I just
have been a very dark show. I feel like it should have been a very dark storyline, and it's
Right.
super Disney. It's super Disney.
Right.
It's too Disney.
I agree with
Yeah.
you. A Boba Fett on Tatooine should be like a gritty, dark story that they
He's
tell.
not a nice
That
guy.
would be right. Like that would be a show that I'd want to watch. Like just
Yeah.
The first
the
thing he
idea
does
of
go up
that.
to Bib Fortuna and shoot him in the face for no reason and just
Yeah,
take his
like,
throne.
wait.
And
He
then
hasn't
like
done anything that cool in 3 episodes.
No, and that's the thing too. They're making Boba seem so freaking weak, and it's like we've now finally seen him use his jetpack, right, just to pull up on that car that probably drove away 50 feet because they were going so slow. He didn't even. It's the one time he didn't even need to use it, and it's like, man, like when he was attacked by the space ninjas, like why didn't he just pop up and then just start fucking torching people? Would have been sweet, right? Like show how powerful he is and why
Jango
he's
Fett
someone
would
to
have
be
shot up
feared.
in the air and torched those fools.
Right,
yeah.
and it's like
Take
you
them
should be
all
showing
in
him
that.
as a badass, but
Yep.
instead they're just showing you like he's just weak. He's not really doing anything.
And then like Boba and then we first see him in the Mandalorian, he whips out the chapter stick. He's just cracking skulls. There's
Right.
stormtroopers flying everywhere, and that was he did not hold back. They were just like, here's Boba Fett. He's gonna kill everybody.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
like, and then like to your point, Templar, like they should have done that times 100 in this movie. I mean, in this show, right? They should have made it grittier, raw, more violent, right? Because it's about a bounty hunter who's been through some shit, who's seen some things, and is now trying to, essentially take over where the Hutts left off, right? That should be a dark, gritty show, and especially if you want to do like the politics between warring factions and clans on this planet. That could be really cool. And that's another reason I had high expectations for this and the direction they've gone and how they've made it. Man, oh man.
Well, he
to
worked
me,
directly
it's been really
for
disappointing.
Vader for decades. Worked directly, right-hand guy to Darth Vader. Did all the dirty work for him. And now he's just like, oh, I see you want to kill me. Why don't you come over? We'll have friends. Come in. Let's have a drink together. We'll talk about this respectfully instead of, oh, you're going to kill me? All right, well, I need it back to tank now. I'm gonna go hit the back for a while.
I'm gonna go hit the back down. I'll be back.
I don't get it. But then just so another thing I don't get, and this is one maybe they could explain down the road, but as it stands right now, makes no logical sense. And again, if we keep pulling it to now, one.
You're talking about the twins, I assume, right?
The twins, right? So a show that did political intrigue very well, Game of Thrones in those early seasons, where everyone has all their little machinations, but it's always making sense why they're doing it. Everyone is out for themselves. And even though you understand why the characters that are being misled, you understand why they don't, from their own perspective, understand what's going on because they have limited information. But you as the viewer who has it all understands how things are unfolding. And even then, it's getting complex to understand how the pieces are moving. But it all is making sense. Everyone is making really rational decisions to try to inch their way to more power or more wealth or more money or better position, that kind of thing. But in this show, it's just not making a lot of sense how characters are acting. So like with the twins, right? The idea is that apparently they tried to kill him. They sent the Wookiee to kill him. It failed.
They sent Chris Hansen to kill him. Okay.
So then they show up and they're like, here's this absolutely amazing gift. I mean, just precious gift for you.
The Rancor looked fantastic, by the way.
He looked amazing. We had Danny Trejo. He got his forklift license.
Shows up. He got his forklift license.
And he brings the Rancor in. Just amazing. It's a freaking Rancor. It's awesome. But they're like, here's this amazing gift because we tried to kill you, our bad. And also, someone else is actually taking over. We lied to you about that. And we're bouncing. You probably want to leave too. And you're like, well, wait. If that was really the case, why would they tell him? They would just bounce. Why would you be like, sorry, here's this amazing...
Here's a Rancor.
Right. It's the Hutts. Like, what? Why would they... That makes no sense. So this is something, though, that could maybe be explained down the road. Some more backstory. Maybe the Rancor is actually there to kill him, or, it's a long game, that kind of thing. That would make... Because otherwise, if it's just kind of that, and it really is that the mayor sent another group to take control and the Hutts really are bouncing, then that's absurd. But if like the Rancor is kind of a secret long game that's trained to eventually attack Boba from the inside or something, and the Hutts are in with this other group that's taking over, then maybe, because otherwise that makes no fucking sense. You tried to kill him. Why would you try to say you're sorry? Just leave. You say you're leaving the planet, you just leave. Keep your Rancor. And then they offer you the Wookiee, and you're like, you take him too. Like, what? Why? Makes no sense.
Yeah, his survival wasn't a show of power. It was bad writing. He could be dead right now, and it shouldn't matter,
But now they're just throwing gifts at his feet.
Where did Black Chrysanthemum go in such a hurry when they let him go? Did anybody else notice that? That like as soon as they free him, and Boba's like, no hard feelings, just business, even though he tried to kill you. And then he looks at him. He starts to walk away like a badass, like you think he would do, and then he just like jogs off to the side of the screen, and you're like, where is he going? Like, wouldn't he just like slowly walk away as a badass? Instead, he just like runs like a Welshman off the screen. It looks so jarring and awkward.
Why doesn't Boba Fett hire him?
Yeah, why didn't he try to work with him?
With the Vespas?
I have to imagine he will eventually. Aren't they in the comic books together, right? Those two?
They both work for Darth Vader, I think, in the comics.
Yep. So I have to imagine he'll be back in the fold. But yeah, so I don't know. The one cool thing was seeing Danny Trejo with his forklift in the Rancor, and then we get to see Boba Fett see the Rancor and everything, which was cool. Although I really was hoping for like a Dr. Grant Triceratops moment where he's just like laying on the Rancor and just like feeling it breathe and smiling. I would have really liked that, but we still got him. He's petting it and everything.
Did.
Yeah, I'm going to say we got pretty close.
I do a couple of the positives. Let's go back to that because we got way off of that. But I did like that in the story of the Tusken Raiders and Boba Fett that they talk about how there used to be the planet was full of water at one point.
Right.
And Tuskens had been there that long. That's kind of some cool lore. I'm sure that exists somewhere else. But also the Rancor, that they're actually like sweet little cuddly animals, and they form these amazing emotional bonds with their owners, but they're totally loyal and will kill anybody. It's a really interesting character.
Yeah, I like that as well, because then that makes sense too when you bring it back to what would that have been? Return of the Jedi, right? When Luke kills Patissa, the Rancor, and then what's his name? The handler, Malakili. Right, because clearly he was the one that the Rancor imprinted on, and so they had a relationship that was trained. And it's like, so that actually does make a lot of sense, and is some interesting little lore to throw in the world. I completely agree with you. And the fact that the planet had water on it, when Boba cut him off, I was like, I actually want to hear more about that. Like, what do you mean it had water on it? What happened? Is it that the atmosphere is too low? Is what's going on to get rid of all the water?
Well, I felt like they set this interesting backdrop with the Tuskens in that relationship, because he was captured by them, weakened, not well at all, obviously, but it seems like he probably could have got away a little bit easier. But he kind of sticks around and develops this diplomatic relationship with them for a little bit until he gets accepted by the tribe, killing Goro, and then but it felt like that was going to be a huge part of the story, and I'm thinking, man, this is going to be cool, because he's kind of cruising around with just a few people, laying low, saying he's going to take charge. He doesn't really have any power, but maybe his power is the Tusken Raiders. So I'm thinking maybe he spent this long time bringing all the Tuskens back together, and he's really like the king of the Tusken Raiders. And he has this amazing army behind him.
Maybe they'll be his support, his army. Yeah.
Right.
But then they just killed everybody. All the Tuskens, they just killed them. And now you're like, oh, they can't do that story now. That wouldn't make any sense. Is he going to go find more Tusken Raiders and start over again? And
right. He has no rapport built with them, which obviously took a bunch of time. So you think that's going to come back in some big way. But yeah, it really didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I want to go back to the twins real quick and talk.
I want to go back to the Wookiee, and we have the answer. That's what you're saying. He had to poop. That makes complete sense, because he thought he was about to die, and and all of a sudden they're like, you're free to go, and he's kind of walking away like, okay, but then you get the rumbling in your stomach like, I'm gonna shit.
So boom.
You're like, I gotta go, and he just starts running like a Welshman to try to find a bathroom.
Just randomly off the corner of the screen.
Right. But okay, man, can you imagine stepping in Wookiee poop? Like, I have to imagine that's wonderful.
It's probably
I've got a thing for feces.
Well, and Templar
We
got a
must
thing
know.
for the way Wookiees smell. Remember,
That's
Templar
right,
loves the
he
way
love-
Wookiees smell.
That's
so-
right. Didn't you create your own scent called Wookiee? I believe. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
It
pick it
didn't
up
sell
today.
well.
Wait, oh, it didn't sell well.
No, not really.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Because it smells like wet dog. So-
Because it was a bummer. That was the problem.
yeah, man. Well,
Yeah.
at least you like it.
More puns. So, okay. So the twins, their plan. Tyler was talking about their plan, and then we get sidetracked, as we tend to do. And so I'm like, okay, wait a second. Same thing Tyler said. Would they really do that? Would the twins actually show up, give Boba a rancor, and then advice to get out before getting out, before being like, oh yeah, and we sent Chrysanthemum to kill you. Sorry about that. And we don't need him back. You go ahead and just keep him. We're out of here. We're out of here. We're done. Goodbye. So now part of me thinks, okay, this is a setup. They're bringing the Rancor in to try and kill him from within because Chrysanthemum failed, obviously. I don't know how they even know that. Maybe because he didn't show up the next day for work. And then I'm thinking maybe the thing with the Rancor is the opposite. Maybe it's, it's not the first person he sees, he imprints on, he loves, but maybe he wants to kill. And so now he saw Boba and wants to kill Boba, but he was still drugged. He was still drugged up,
which would explain Danny Trejo's comment of "Don't worry,
he'll be back." Yes, and so I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's what this is. And then I think, no, I don't think the writers would be thinking that deep on a show like this. I think the Hutts aren't coming back. I think this was meant to be a total cameo, and I think they wanted to get Boba a Rancor, and it's really that simple. Is they wanted to bring the Hutts in for a cameo, and they wanted to get Boba a Rancor. And I think that's it. And that's how they did it. And as awkward and as clunky as they're showing up and offering these gifts and apologies is, I think that's how they're going to do it. I don't think there's any deeper explanation. I think that's it.
Because again, that's the one thing they could, because the other stuff we talked about, there's no explaining away, right? It happened and it happened poorly and they should feel bad about themselves. But that's the one thing where you could change things to make that make sense or have planned for that to make sense. And if they don't, then that's also egregious because again, it just doesn't make any sense. Nobody would do that, let alone the Hutts. Nobody in their right mind is going to be like,
fear Boba?
Right.
They obviously don't.
Why?
He's it's two people.
Exactly.
Now maybe 8 if you count his 4 cyberpunks and his 2 Gamorrean guards.
Planet, what the hell? What do you care? And like,
you think Boba's going to come after you?
Right. And now the one thing that does make sense is them not wanting. I forget how to pronounce the Wookiee's name. What is it?
Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan? What
Kyrgyzstan? Karsagard.
Chrysanthemum. Right. I get why they wouldn't want him because they're like, no, we sent this son of a bitch to assassinate him. He went there without his gun. Like, he's worthless. You take him. That makes sense. But the Rancor thing and like apologizing and saying like, yeah, you should dip because we're dipping. Why? Like, it makes no fucking sense.
So the show can happen.
What do they gain from it? And again, they're Hutts. What do they gain from it? They gain nothing from it. It doesn't improve but this could change. And this is the one thing we have talked about, one criticism that could change with proper things happening down the road to show that this was actually part of a larger plot by the Hutts. I hope that that's the case because otherwise this is just, that's just terrible.
I would agree. Right? Unboxing and again says you got to see the Slave one. We got to see the Slave. Where is that thing parked? Where is
right? That's a great point. It's just in a garage somewhere. Got a tarp over it.
The Greedo guy, he's like, if we can get to Anchorhead, I can get us off world. So that's where the ship must be. Right?
There you go.
That could be.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I can't wait to see a scene like it's gonna be like in Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, right? Where finally in the epic final scenes, he's gonna go in that barn, he's gonna pull the tarp off, and there's the slave one. He's gonna go and he's gonna rip a bunch of bad guys' throats out. It's gonna be sweet.
Nice.
It's
gonna be
epic.
epic.
We've seen that ship in the 3 episodes. They've shown plenty of modern time. Why haven't we seen Slave One?
Because
Why have we not seen lots of things, and have we seen some of the things we've seen? Oh man.
So yeah, okay. So boy, I would say so far a disappointment overall. I mean, disappointment overall. Is there some good stuff? Yeah. I mean, I like the Sarlacc escape, even though, like I said, the fact that he breaks through the sand like 30 feet away doesn't make sense to me. But Sarlacc escape was cool to see. The trains chase I thought was cool. I kind of like the way they're, I would say, doing the flashbacks. I like the Bacta, like he goes in the Bacta and he has like visions or dreams like when he's in the Bacta. And that's a cool way to do flashbacks because we're getting so many flashbacks. And there's other things like I like that they introduced the twins in the huts, and I like that they brought Black Chrysanthemum in, a character from the comics. But just the execution on some of this stuff seems so sloppy. I mean, honestly, it's surprisingly sloppy. For what they do and how good they all are and how much money they have, we should not be able to easily pick this stuff apart. But that's my whole point, is we shouldn't be able to be like, this makes no sense. Like half of the internet should not be like, literally any competent writer could be like, Black Chrysanthemum opening the thing, not using his gun, grabbing him by the throat, just throwing him away and then walking at him makes no sense if he was literally sent there to kill him. He would just open the thing and shoot him in the face.
It's classic like horror movie trope. The bad villain gets the drop on him, and they're holding a machete the whole time. But then when they get the drop off him, they grab him by the shoulder to turn him around first,
and then they throw him away.
Oh, right,
and then they push him.
Like what?
And then they walk slowly at him again.
Why? And to see that kind of stuff, it's baffling. I'm surprised they don't red team this stuff. You know what I mean? How do they not have a group of writers to, once they have a script down, they just
Templar
run
in there with them.
Exactly. Get Templar in there. Get him working.
Get him out of Maine. Too freaking cold in Maine right now. Fly him to LA and let him red team every episode.
I'm spray painting those Vespas at the very least.
They're all going to be rusty brown and gray.
Yeah. Templar cannot get over those Vespas. He's not going to let it go. I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
They were totally.
There's been plenty of colorful moments, like the celebration scene in the prequel. What was the last one called? I forget. It was so bad. Anyways, when they go
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, when they go looking for the Death Star and the Holocron and the Wayfinder rather. And
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
Festival of fun, the color, and that was really well done, and it looked Star Wars. I mean, this just looks like a red sword thumb spinning around most Espa. That's what it looks like.
I mean, I agree too. It's just there are so many things that just are not as cool as I expected them to be. Right? Even simple things like that, like the world building and stuff, like you mentioned, right? We see Boba just walking around the streets like a lot now, and it's not like it's that cool, right? It's a lot of huts in a desert world, and it's like we could see that area
Fennec
once,
Shan just walking,
right? But it's like now we should be exploring some cooler, more unique places within this world that we haven't seen, and we're just not doing it. Nothing really looks that cool. The fight scenes have been horribly clunky. The political machinations are weak and undermotivated. I can't believe it's really been this poor, in my opinion. Again, because Justin, you said you went in with low expectations. I wish I did. I went in with high expectations. I really thought that they were going to get their feet under them now that they've had some practice doing shows in Star Wars. They were trying to get the start rolling stuff out the way that Marvel is, maybe experimenting with new styles. And I'm really disappointed that not only did they not, but actually went backwards and made things worse. And it's like, man, this to me hurts Star Wars brand, right? Like you've talked about, Justin, I would never show so far. And again, now that the episodes would have to be pretty good for this to change going forward, like amazingly good. I'm never going to show this show to any of my friends who aren't Star Wars fans. I would never be like, oh my God, you're not a Star Wars fan. Watch the Book of Boba Fett. And that would give you proof that you're right not to like Star Wars, right? Like, because they would hate it. They would, because they have no background of the character. That's the only reason.
You really got to have background. You've got to be a Star Wars fan, I think, to enjoy the Book of Boba Fett.
But
I don't think
that's a weakness. There are plenty of other shows we can look to in Marvel where you don't need any background to enjoy the show and think it's good, but having the background makes it more enjoyable. Right. And that's how Star Wars should be. It should be like they throw in these little bits for the fans who are really deep and know a lot of the lore to where it improves their experience. But you don't have to know everything about every character in order for it to be interesting to you. Right. The story should stand on its own. But we don't see that. Again, to me, a non-Star Wars fan watching this show is not going to be blown away by it. I think the only reason we're like finding the good in it and wanting to push forward is because we are invested in characters like Boba Fett and stuff, because we've known about him for decades, and I've seen him in other movies and read books and comic books about him and stuff. And so like want it to be good so bad.
So many Funko Pops of Boba Fett.
But if this is coming from someone who is not a fan, who hasn't seen all that other stuff and watches this show is weak. It's very, very weak. And that just, God, that sucks, because I love Star Wars. And like, I want it to be great. I want it to, there's so many storylines I want them to explore in Star Wars. And the weaker it becomes with this, the less likely that becomes, right? If this show were great and it were to explode and become super popular, there'd be all kinds of other spinoffs and stories to explore and things to do. The more and more weak outings they have, the less and less likely other projects like that are, because it seems like they are really struggling to do things right. But maybe this is a one-off. Maybe it'll start to turn around in the end, or maybe it's just this show.
The next
maybe
Obi-Wan tomorrow will blow our minds. Maybe the next episode will blow our minds.
Yep.
Something tells me, just even from the previews I've seen from Obi-Wan, Templar, have you seen the Obi-Wan previews? I think Obi-Wan is going to be epically good. I really do.
And I feel like that will change everything.
I think I worry about that now watching this, because I felt like this was the opportunity for them to really show what they were going to do with the future of Star Wars, and really they're showing stuff that we've already seen.
And that's a good point. That's a good point. I was super pumped about Obi-Wan, and like I couldn't have been more hyped for it. And now I'm more nervous after seeing this, and I'm like, oh man, they could, because to me, if they do screw up the show, meaning that like the rest of the show is just how we've seen it now, then they botched it. And if they botch Obi-Wan, then it's like, what do you do? You've torched the brand, right? Like no one's going to want to watch.
I think it's going to be the epic, because obviously we all know that Hayden Christensen is coming back, that he's going to face Vader in some way.
Ewan McGregor, we already know, is fucking sweet.
He's one of the best actors that have happened to Star Wars. And I just even looking at the effects in that show, just from the little clips we have,
a lot more cinematic.
Looks better. It looks more cinematic. Yes, it just does. And just something tells me like Boba Fett was rushed. Too many Mandalorian shows. Like, they shouldn't have released the Book of Boba Fett while we're still in the Mandalorian. Like, the Mandalorian should have ended. They could have waited, done another show or two, and then gone back and done the Book of Boba Fett or something.
It does seem weird in the size of the universe that
universe.
Star Wars is.
Now it's like Mandalorian show.
To have multiple Mandalorians have their own shows, and it's like, and especially when you think of Star Wars, when any person thinks of Star Wars, they're thinking lightsabers, right? They're thinking lightsaber duels. They're thinking the Force. And now we're having the two shows that you're putting out there as being, Mandalorians, with the only lightsaber showing up at the end of, season 2 of The Mandalorian. It's like, it's time for like an Obi-Wan style show. We need to follow some Force users, some Jedi, get back to those stories. So I hope the Book of Boba Fett picks up. I really, really do. But man, I'm now 3 episodes in, I'm very nervous that it's not going to. And then I'm going to be very nervous for Obi-Wan. And I really hope that one doesn't let me down. Because Obi-Wan was from the prequels, to me, was the absolute, like the diamond jewel of the prequels was Obi-Wan. Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan was absolutely
Ewan McGregor almost single-handedly saved, and Qui-Gon's great, but Obi-Wan's he's in all 3 of the prequels. But
Qui-Gon was great. I think you needed that relationship between those two. Yeah.
All right, Templar, are we going to see a lightsaber in the Book of Boba Fett?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Oh, that is a good question. Season 1, I think not. I think because it's predictable, because we just saw that twice in The Mandalorian season 2. I think that.
Oh yeah, we got the Ahsoka cameo, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was just introducing her for her own show,
but
which
was
is fine.
good. It was good. The
Yeah.
dual wielding of Ahsoka was better than I thought. Again,
it was
that's
done really
one.
well.
See, and like that's a thing where it's easy to make look bad. It's easy to mess up. It's hard to get the choreography right. Car chase scenes on Vespas should be easy. You know what I mean? Again, we've been doing car chase scenes for freaking 100 years. That should be the easy thing. The dual wielding lightsabers, I could see it looking cheesy. It actually looked really good. I was impressed by how they did it. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, she's got some sabers. The show has not been able to capture the RF Jabba's palace. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Jabba's
Ahsoka
palace
had these massive lightsabers that she held in both hands. Her boobs aren't too bad either.
His palace, because his palace is empty. There's nothing going on there. So all you ever get is just the newish throne, and that's really it. And you get a couple of the shots. Like when you're talking about paying homage, like to me, it's like Star Wars. Some of the old effects from the old movies were just old because they were old. Like you don't have to pay homage by like making a chase scene look old and clunky. Like the way could you imagine if that were a Marvel chase scene? If that was a Marvel show or a Marvel movie, that would have flown and gotten through.
There would have been like 30 buildings decimated in the chase.
Company. It's the same parent company. The same people own it and have all the money in the world. And you're like, how does this get out in Star Wars? Because I think as a Star Wars fan and a Marvel fan, I just think I want Star Wars to be its own thing. I'm not going to say it needs to be Marvel, but it should take things from Marvel. I mean, like the Marvel shows like WandaVision and Loki were so good. I was hooked on every episode. And now it's just like I watch Book of Boba and it's the Pikes. Well, you got to go talk to the mayor. Oh, the mayor says you got to go talk to this guy. And so Boba goes and talks to this guy. Yeah. And the twins give him a gift for no reason. And then they F off back to Hutta. And it's like, okay, what? Why? What is it? What is hooking me?
Right. And the motivations there with like the machinations and stuff are just undermotivated. And they're not. It's not even like they're superbly acted or anything because you have a bunch of characters in big costumes to where they really can't be. So it's like in Game of Thrones, a part of what made it Game of Thrones is just people talking in rooms, right, at making their little ploys. But it was awesome because the way that they did it and the way they were toying with each other and playing their games of cat and mouse was amazing to see. But those were excellent performances you can't really do with someone who's in complete blue makeup and can't even move their face, right? They just essentially have to say their line. And then their motivations aren't really there. It's not even making a lot of sense why they're doing what they're doing or what the employee is. So I mean, it's kind of weak on every front, and that blows. And so, like you said, I don't think it should be Marvel, right? It should be its own thing. But it's like, but when they're doing action sequences,
quality can be much better.
That's the thing. The quality should still be what Marvel. There's no reason for them to have clunky fight scenes or to have unbelievable snail crawling chase scenes. That again, it is just flabbergasting. Isn't it crazy? So, I was watching that scene and I'm like, what is happening? They look like they're moving 2 miles per hour.
I know. Wow. Templar, do you play video games at all?
A little bit. It's been a while.
Do you play any Star Wars video games?
I played a few, yeah.
So since I've been sick for like the last week, and we're home and we're not going anywhere, and so I started playing Jedi Fallen Order again, which I got for the PS5.
Great game.
And I just beat it last night. And I'll tell you what, the best thing about Star Wars right now in my mind are the video games. I mean,
that game is sweet.
That game, I have my little nitpicks like anything, but I mean, generally speaking, that game is awesome.
And I agree with you.
Absolutely awesome.
Don't you wish that story was brought to the screen?
That
character, it would be great. And I don't know why they're not exploring that stuff.
Yes, even as a video game where it's like, putting aside the uncanny valley animation of, 2 real characters trying to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like there are times when they're having dialogue and they're talking about why one character went crazy and did this and why they did that. And I'm like, this is better than anything I've seen in a Star Wars TV show recently. Like, this is good. Like, the writing for this video game and the motivations for these characters is good. And it makes more sense. But it was a fantastic game. Anyways, it's like, I love the Star Wars video games. I've never been a big Star Wars video game, like when I was younger and then long break. But like, that's the first one I played in a long time. And Jedi Fallen Order was great.
I enjoyed that. Yeah,
well, you know what one
Templar, you played that one too?
Yeah, yeah. It was really good.
Did you play it all the way through?
Oh, yeah.
Tyler, did you play it all the way through? I know you played it, right?
No, I didn't play it all the way through, but now I'm on to a new Star Wars game, Justin, because I just got an Oculus.
You got an Oculus? How do I not know about this?
I just got it. I just started playing it yesterday.
So did you get Vader Immortal?
Yeah, got Vader Immortal because that's the one we had played at good old D&B's.
Yeah.
And it's sweet. So I just been wielding my lightsaber in the house like nobody's business. I'm doing backflips in the living room and stuff. I mean, I'm deadly. But it's honestly, it's sweet. I got it because, my buddy Matthew had just picked one up and he's like,
they're not that bad. Like $300,
like $300.
Right?
And he's like,
half the price of PS5.
Yeah. And he's told me, he's like, there's this golf game on there. And he's like, the physics on it are amazing. He's like, it's so cool. You need to check it out. We could play together online, make our own courses kind of thing. And I'm like, all right,
really?
Like, that sounds pretty sweet. And then like Brian got one and Steve got one. And now they're all playing like golf together online. I'm like, well, shit, I want to play golf with everybody. So I was like, I'll check it out.
I want to play with everybody.
Right. And so Carrie, being a sweetheart, got me one yesterday. And I tried it out. The golf game is absolutely sweet. I love it. I played it for way too long. My back is like sore because I was just sitting in my living room. I can't imagine if someone could like see me through the window for just hours.
Like, what is that idiot doing?
Like, what a dumbass. But like, I loved it. But then I'm like, okay, I got to do the Vader game. And so I got that. And then it was up way too late playing the Vader game because it was sweet. And I love the glove, like when you just look at yourself, like with the gloves and holding the lightsaber in the VR. It's awesome. I gotta tell you, man.
Now I have to get one.
You gotta get one because we could play that golf game together, and you'd love it. It's honestly really good. The physics behind it are fantastic, and so like you do like a normal swing and everything, and registers, and you can shape the ball and everything. It's awesome.
I would love that. I mean, the Vader Immortal, we played that at D&B. Templar, have you ever done that? Have you ever played an Oculus? You don't like the VR? Like Dave & Buster's or
first version of it, the very first version that came Oculus V.1 for you stuck your cell phone inside of it. That's the one I had.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, my son had one of those.
Yeah.
Yep. No, this one is different. They have what are called Fresnel lenses. So it's a type of, because and when you have something like a screen that's really close to you and you need to have like depth and stuff, that's really hard, right? Because your eyes can't really focus to something that's this close. And so what you really need is a gigantic lens to be able to focus things to make them such that they're at a distance. But then that would weight down the helmet too much, right? Because you'd need these big, huge, thick lenses. So they use what are called Fresnel lenses. And actually, when you look in there, you can kind of tell they're like these little curved lenses that have these little kind of grooves in them, you can see. And so when you look into it, it looks really good. But you have to get it perfectly adjusted to your eyes. So like you really need your eyes to be dead center of those lenses for it to be clear. Otherwise it'll be blurry. So you really have to spend a lot of time like getting the headset just right so that it's focused there. And then the eyepieces kind of move side to side so you can get them adjusted just right. But then once you do, I mean, it's awesome. Like your home screen when you log in, I picked mine as a spaceship, so I can just like on my home screen look around, and I'm on a spaceship, and there's couches and stuff like that, and things going on, spaceships flying around. That's just like your wallpaper, your background. You can switch it to all kinds of stuff. It's sweet. I fell in love with it immediately. I haven't used a VR except like what Templar said, like one of the really first ones that I'm like kind of like, this is pretty gimmicky and not that cool. This was actually cool. I really liked it. For only $300, I was like, it's actually pretty sweet.
Metaverse.
Which brings up our next point. We are sponsored by Oculus Quest 2. Make sure
affiliate link down in the description. All right, so let's wrap this up with predictions. Okay, so maybe not necessarily episode 4 predictions, but like, how do we think this thing is going to go? What might happen? How's this going to end? I honestly don't really know who the ultimate bad guy is. I have a guess. I've heard a couple of rumors about, a cameo from a character that I don't want to necessarily spoil, but I do think the one thing I can say that's going to happen is they made a promise in writing terms, you would call this a promise. And that would be that Boba Fett's going to ride a Rancor. And I think that
was going to be my one prediction. Damn it.
That's the only thing that I can say for sure at this point that I think is going to happen in the show is Boba will ride a Rancor into battle somewhere against someone, probably the Pikes, who are probably led by a certain former female lover of Han Solo. That's all I'm going to say.
Right. Who could that be? Good thing you didn't spoil it. But
it's Leia.
I completely agree with you. If he doesn't ride a Rancor now at this point, the people will riot. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, that would be trash.
That would be the moment we need to see is Boba Fett coming in, riding a Rancor, maybe, holding his helmet like it's a cowboy hat, riding that beast in there, eating people. That'll get the juices flowing. Templar, got any thoughts, any theories?
What do you got?
Maybe then walking the streets of Tatooine a few more times.
I think that's over. I think the next thing will be him riding the Rancor through the streets of
There you go. But he's not going to kill anybody. He's just going to very leisurely ride it. Just park at places and then go talk to people, and they'll resolve their differences peacefully.
That might be how people respect him, is he walks the Rancor through the streets.
And now they're scared. And then that would make sense for him to be scared. Not because he's got, what do we call him, Ham and Bacon, the 2 Gamorrean guards with him, like anybody's freaking scared of them. But a Rancor? I'd be scared of a Rancor.
I'm looking forward to the backstory of the 2 Rancor, the Gamorrean guards, maybe.
More backstory.
Maybe their own spin-off.
Are they lovers? We don't know.
I would
if
love
they
to
get in
see...
the back of the tank, we're going to get flashbacks from them.
Oh my God. I would love to see a comedy sitcom in front of a live studio audience with Ham and Bacon. Their backstory.
That's what Tyler calls them. Yeah.
Right. Isn't that their names? I'm pretty sure.
Ham and Bacon.
Gosh, I would pay money to see that. Kind of like, a WandaVision style thing, old sitcom style with just Ham and Bacon.
So, what else? Does anybody else have any idea? I mean, it's going to be a crime syndicate battle, right? He's going to have to battle somebody from one of the crime syndicates. Maybe it's the Pikes. It seems to be who they're setting up, that the mayor is aligned with the Pikes now, we find out. Now I'm just going to say it, spoiler alert. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but there's been rumors that Emilia Clarke may be reprising her role as Kira, possibly as the Crimson Dawn leader. Now, and I say that now because Augie puts up a question. He says, is Darth Maul dead at this point? And I believe the answer is yes. I believe at this point he has been killed by Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so he is dead. And so I believe, now I'm not a deep comic book person, but I believe Kira ascends upon Maul's death or his leaving Crimson Dawn. And so I think she's in charge of that. And, she kind of kills the one Pike leader in Solo. I'm not 100% sure. Let us know in the comments if you're watching this live or on the replay. I mean, is Kira actually in charge of Crimson Dawn and maybe even the Pikes? Is she in charge of the Pikes at this at this point?
Pikes. The Crimson Dawn, I think.
She'd be 40 plus years older now as a character. So to bring that same actress in to play a character that's 40 years age wouldn't make much sense.
Well, you could age her with makeup, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Age her with
bring her in all sexy like she is,
but I'd almost prefer that. You know what I mean? With all the other problems, just to let Emilia Clarke be her.
Right, back is a wonderful thing.
I agree. Yeah, it is.
She has her own back to tank.
All she has to do, it'll be a one-off line where she takes a back to bath every day and she looks great.
Botox and honey in her tea, and that's how she stays so fit.
Well, maple syrup.
Right. Yeah, I have heard rumors
maple syrup does the trick, man.
About her coming back, and because I remember quite some time ago too, her saying that she would be excited to reprise the role and stuff like that. So she was definitely down for it. So yeah, that would not shock me to see a cameo. But again, it's not one that's oh man, I really need to see that, kind of thing. I think they could do it well, but it's not something I'm dying for.
Yeah, it's not going to be Luke Skywalker, obviously. Right.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that level. But I have heard one of the rumors.
But what if it was? What if that's what they do at the end of every Star Wars series? They just find a way to bring Luke back to torch people.
Luke
what?
Comes
I'd watch.
and saves the day at the end of every Disney Plus show.
I'd like it if it was a Jedi, if it was like a fallen Jedi from the Purge that survived and kept quiet and hidden away all this time, and that's maybe it's Mace Windu, maybe it's one of the other Jedi that survived the Great Purge, and it's evil but not dark side,
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to bring Mace Windu back?
That's a good
I think they will.
Why not?
Samuel L. Jackson, he's been petitioning for it for a long time, publicly.
Oh, yeah. He's been wearing his lightsaber shirts for quite some time. Yeah.
He's got the Force. He should have been able to handle that 400,000 story fall. No problem.
Oh, well, use a little Force at the end and save yourself. That's all.
Just grab something. Exactly. No big deal.
It's the rule in these movies. If you don't see like an actual bloody dead corpse, they're not dead. And even then, think about what Emperor Palpatine went through, and somehow he's alive. Now, of course,
Darth Maul got cut in half.
Darth Maul got cut in half, and
no big deal.
He's just got metal legs, and he fell down a shaft, which
right.
Like, didn't he die? Where'd he go? Like, did he hit his head or something?
You can say, well, no, he landed on his feet. Like, what? Like, my God.
Whoa. Too soon, Tyler. Too soon.
Too soon? It's been a long time, man.
It's been 25 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Maz Katana found him down in that hole, just like she found him.
All right. She's just
That's a good question, Templar, for another time.
Right. I love hanging out in shafts.
How'd you find that lightsaber? Good question for another time. That's the same thing that, like, obviously Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams did in the sequels, where, I look at the sequels and I think cool anime, like effects and all kinds of visuals. Yeah. Storytelling, terrible. Absolutely terrible. So many plot conveniences, and we won't turn this into a sequel rant, because
we've already done that many times.
It almost seems like we hate Star Wars, but like we love Star Wars. We hate it when it's not great. Do you know what I mean? Like objectively great. We want it to be great. That's all. We just have high expectations. We want it to be good. So we're not trying to pick it apart, but sometimes we feel like
we want it to be better. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's interesting you say that about the sequels, because I feel like Boba Fett feels like a sequel. It feels like that same attitude, like it's reserved, it's held back. And the obvious, really cool story points they seem to be setting up for, they just take them away.
Yeah.
The idea of where did Finn come from? Why did they capture all these kids and turn them into stormtroopers? How did they do that? Why were these specific children picked? Why were they taken? And Finn seems more sensitive. So why not make a whole Star Wars story about why they went after these kids and turned them into stormtroopers? That would be made an amazing part of that Star Wars story. Finn could have gone off to find that information with Rose, and that would have been way funner than a code breaker.
Yeah, I think we all agree. I think everyone generally agrees with you. Yeah, and instead, he yells Rey 40 times in the last movie, and that's it.
Right, and exactly, and that's it. It should have been 80 times. And like, can you believe he only yelled it 40 times? Like that he should have
had way more words, way more Reys. Yeah,
But like to what you said, Templar, too, I like the word like too reserved. It's like they're too careful, but in that way, it's making them worse. It's like they're trying to just do really safe cookie cutter stuff, and it's like, but why?
Marvel doesn't do that,
right?
I mean, even in PG-13 Avengers Infinity War, Thanos picks up Loki, chokes him to death, cracks his neck. You watch Loki die, and then he throws him on the ground in a PG-13 Marvel movie. Like, crazy shit happens in those movies, in PG-13 movies, and like Marvel just does its thing, and it's good and it's great. And like you said, and Star Wars just seems so afraid to do anything dark or dangerous like at all. Yeah, especially with a character like Boba Fett that should be.
Exactly. And that's like what Templar said before, that I totally agree with. Like, this should have been a dark, gritty show. Mm-hmm. That would be the show I'd want to watch.
Dangerous and Rogue One-ish. Very dark and desperate the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah. And then can you imagine like a badass Boba Fett and that kind of dark, grungy world, just freaking, ripping heads off, right, to take control of everything? Like, that sounds fucking sweet. I want to see that show, not the one that we're seeing.
Gangster. He's not a gangster. I do not see gangster. I see like a CEO and a diplomat trying to save the world. Is what I see. He's like Bill Gates.
Yeah, right.
Boba Fett equals Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I just don't get it. Hopefully, maybe they'll surprise us these next few episodes. But I got to tell you, I think the chances of that are pretty low.
But what is it? What is it? As we wrap this up, so like I feel like none of us really know where this is going. We don't really have any big predictions other than Boba's going to ride a Rancor. That has to happen.
That better happen.
Other than that, I don't really seem to know. What would make you happy? Like, let me just end with this. Start with Templar. Templar, like, and again, maybe we're being too hard. I don't hate the show. I just don't love the show, and I want to love it, but I can't. I can't right now. Doesn't mean it won't get better. Doesn't mean that the next episode might not have a crazy twist where I'm like, that was amazing. Now I can't wait for the next couple episodes. Right? Yeah. He definitely does. Tamara Morrison does. But we all do. As
plenty of badasses with dad bods.
Of
course.
Well,
maybe there's not.
Yes, I made them both speechless. Yes.
But I don't know. I don't know what could happen, and it's got to be the introduction to something else, because I don't know what Boba Fett can do for me to love Boba Fett.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, or to it's just like, it's got to be something else. It's got to be an introduction of another character, of a Jedi, of a something, of a right. Is that it? Do I need some cameo to love the show?
Something big, something that really, and it has to be sustainable. It has to change the mood. It has to change the story. It has to set everything in motion, because there's nothing happening now. Like, it's just fun to watch, and that's about it. I'm not thinking about what's gonna happen in the next episode. I don't care.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why it's kind of hard to have predictions, because it's like they're not really setting up a ton. So we're like, you need to know what happens here and like what's going to happen between these two war
with the Pikes or something. That's like, about all we know about. They've set up, right?
They bring in this big new protagonist, and it sucks. I think that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're introducing people. I mean, they're introducing people left and right. I mean, it's the Nikto biker gang, and then it's the Pikes, and then it's these.
I'm not against that, but you have to.
Well, one thing we didn't talk about that I will say that I like. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about nostalgia and how you do nostalgia the right way. You don't do it by doing a Back to the Future style chase scene, right? From 30 years, effects that were 30 years old. Is you do what they did with Tashi Station, okay? When Boba goes and he finds the Nikto biker gang and beats him up. That was at Tashi Station, which Luke, of course, references in A New Hope. And that scene, that place, and the two people in there, the young guy and the young woman who are like, this isn't right, okay? Those were like actor doubles from the people who played those same characters in A New Hope in a deleted scene 50 or 40 years ago, right?
Like, that's awesome.
That is a great attention to detail. That's a great callback, right? Where like they went to that deleted scene, they recreated Tashi Station and the two people that were there that own it, and then they found like doubles and made those people in there. That is a fantastic Easter egg detail. That is wonderful. But you don't have to like do a callback to Star Wars by doing bad special effects, because the old effects look different because they were not as good as new effects are. That's not a callback.
Now those two characters would be spectacular in the story. Bring them into the story. We were friends with Luke Skywalker. We've been hiding here in Tatooine this whole time because we knew him. And, and now we have this connection, and we've been here all this time, and we do this and we do that. And those would be great characters, fun characters that came in from the lore, came in from canon, from the original series, original film, and they could have expanded Luke Skywalker's story as we get ready for the Luke Skywalker Inevitable series. They could have really built on that a little bit, and it would have given them a reason to bring Luke Skywalker into this series. Like, oh, my friends are in trouble here on Tatooine. Let's head back to say hello, have coffee or something.
Well, yeah, we'll catch up. We'll have a drink.
We'll probably never see them again. We'll probably never see them again, ever, Yeah.
But you're right. And like in Sire Speed, I think Tyler just had this one up. Like, Boba needs to snap, kill someone, stop being... Like, yeah, that's almost like, where maybe it would even be a character swap, but it wouldn't necessarily be, to have him like go crazy, to snap, to almost be like, he's trying to be diplomatic. He's trying to rule a different way, and it doesn't work. And so he starts ruling with fear like everybody else again.
Right.
And I like to where
it the right way. We're going to do it my way.
Yes. At the end of the next episode, I don't know. He assassinates the mayor. I mean, Yeah, I don't know. I just
don't think it's going to happen. I think people are going to start fighting, and he's going to be like, guys, like, can't we all just get along?
Let's all go to Chuck E. Cheese, get some pizza, play in the ball pit, and we'll forget all about this.
And like that's how the series ends. They're just like playing in the ball pit, and there's like a montage of them like doing skee ball and stuff, and it was just a great time for everybody. And then that's it. And then it like, and maybe like it freeze frames, and then it talks about like where they ended up after that. And like Boba ended up owning a series of Chuck E. Cheeses.
Like a little paragraph in the middle.
Like a little paragraph. And like, died at the age of 80, happily in his bed, married, 6 kids, that kind of thing. Because he's just a sweet guy. He's just a sweet guy. He doesn't want to just go around killing people. He wants to go to Chuck E. Cheese, have fun, bring everybody together. That's definitely the character that they've been building up for a long time.
Maybe it's that dent in his helmet. He actually hit his head. Like, it's something
that could be. Like damaged parts of his brain, and then he's a different person. That happens in real life, to where like people get brain injuries that turns them into an entirely different person. Like there's been people who've been there's been people who've been like in car accidents. And like it damages the orbital cortex, so it's just behind your eye, right? And that completely changes people's personality, because it what allows you to like modulate your behavior to not act on your impulses and things like that is essentially all happens in your orbital cortex. And so that got damaged, and suddenly like this guy who was always really nice and fun loving suddenly becomes aggressive and mean all the time, like really openly sexual with people all the time, like just fundamentally changed because like this thing kind of went through his eye and just tapped that part of his brain and so hurt it. And then like that's it, he's fundamentally a different person. And I always just think that's crazy that like we are just like this clump of meat up here, and if you damage it, you're totally different. Like, that's crazy.
That's why I stopped picking my nose, because every time.
Right, you can't go that deep, man. I knew a guy used to pick his nose like that. Boom, herpes.
10 years later, boom, herpes. That's funny. That makes sense now, because I pick my nose a lot, and every day my wife's like, "What is your problem today?" But that's probably what it is. I keep shifting it around in there. And,
yeah, dude, you're fucking damaging your brain. Yeah, you go like 3 knuckles deep when you pick your nose, man.
We're gonna find out.
When we were kids, I'd come in and like you'd have your whole freaking wrist
would be up there.
You're right, like sloshing around in there. It's nuts.
Schizophrenia is actually a disease for nose pickers, right? Because they're always punching their brain, moving things around.
We don't just talk Star Wars. We give health and life advice here, like all kinds of important information.
Smoking for kids,
smoking for kids.
Yes, of course.
I'd like to make one final statement on book.
Fire away.
Please do.
Star Wars, when it was first made, the original film, was probably the biggest risk ever made in Hollywood. They had no idea if it was going to work. They barely had any idea what they were doing, but they took those risks, and look what happened. And I say to the folks that make Star Wars now, continue to take the risks. Do not worry about making everybody happy. Just take the risks, like you saw in season 2 of Mandalorian. There's risks there, and it worked. It all worked. So that's what I say: is take the risks, make the show better.
Yeah, hey, I completely agree, and thankfully, Jon Favreau watches this show. John, take that to heart, buddy. Listen, take risks. But now, don't just take risks. Also, just do things that we've been doing for 30 years better, right? Like car chases and fight scenes. Like, Jesus Christ, John, what are you doing, man? He's spending too much time perming his hair, not enough time focusing on making good shows. Like, I'm very, very disappointed in John. And, I'm sorry, buddy. I know he's a fan of the show. I don't like to, ostracize our fans. But Favre, come on, dude. Get your act together, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, my turn. So Big J, I call him Big J. I have to agree with Tyler. Just be better. And I agree with Templar. Take risks. I mean, come on. Not
take
everything.
That condom off.
I mean, take some risks, man. Try to shock us. Give us something new. Give us something fresh. Sire Speed says it too. They're just not taking risks. It's just like they are like, is nostalgia good? Yes. Does it help? Yes. But don't just be nostalgic.
Don't rely on it. Yeah.
don't rely on it. Let it just be that nice little nod to long-term fans, right? Or deep fans who read the comics and read the books and know everything about the world. And that's not necessarily us. We watch the movies a ton. We do trivia. We read some of the books whenever we can, but it's like there are people out there that read everything. And it's like, let that be nods to those people. But like take risks. Not everything has to just be a callback to something else. Characters you can introduce new characters. Think about what Marvel did with the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? It's like you don't always just have to introduce Thor and then make a Thor movie, and then Iron Man and make an Iron Man movie. Like sometimes you can introduce a new cast of characters. And
here's my one thing I will say to the point was risky, right?
Was very risky.
That was very
were like,
different. That's such a crazy comic, right? With weird characters, and it's funny. And it was great, right? Because they did it the right. They just embraced the difference, right? You had Taika, you had great directors and writers in there to just bring it together to embrace that risk and do something fun and unique, and not try to be safe and not try to say, well, we're going to introduce them, but kind of like what we've done before. No, they just made it something wholly original and unique, and it was awesome. And it's like that's how they need to be thinking. That's how they need to be operating. So sorry, Jen,
I agree. Do Dr. Aphra. Do Dr. Aphra. I don't even. I bought the book. I've heard she's great. Everybody loves Dr. Aphra.
Yeah, I've heard.
I think she works with Chrysanthemum. People love her, like news stories. Yeah. Do a show on Dr. Aphra. Do something like that. Introduce her and do new characters. Like, did I love the Luke Skywalker cameo? Of course. Does that mean you have to just do Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader cameos for the next 30 years? No. Give us new characters.
Yeah. And then for me, I would just say if there's one thing you take away from this entire stream, it would be that wear sunscreen. The benefits, long-term benefits of sunscreen have been clearly delineated. You can see all the research there, and I would just really recommend it to everybody. And kids should smoke.
Yeah.
and kids should definitely smoke. Well, that's it for us. Before we wrap it up, let me just say, Templar, thank you again so much for joining us to talk Star Wars. We love it when you hang out with us, man. And for those of you that don't know, Templar has a Funko Pop mystery box company. He does mystery boxes all the time. I think I have a comment in there. I'm going to drop it in there again. It's I might even have it pasted. There we go. I'm going to drop it in the comments there. TemplarPops.com. He does high roller, all kinds of stuff. Templar, I'll let you go ahead and plug yourself there before we head out.
We do have, right now we have 2 live mystery boxes. We have a $75 mystery box. We have one $90 mystery box. One is all anime for anime fans. People really enjoy anime. There are some fire pops in that box. Really hard to let those go, but holy cow. And the Slimer box, the Ectoplasm, is a lot of fun. It's just kind of a low risk. Use your coupons. You guys get a coupon there. Use coupons 10% off, and you enjoy your mystery boxes. There aren't a lot out there right now, so good time to get one.
That's right. Check him out. I buy tons of Templar's Funko Pop mystery boxes. He's always releasing. I mean, it seems like 1 or 2 runs a week, and price points are always right. They're high, they're low. He kind of does all kinds of different boxes for all kinds of different people. So if you're a collector, you love Funko Pops, check him out. TemplarPops.com. On Instagram at Templar Pops. And that is Templar if his head were Jar Jar Binks.
Right. That is Templar's real body. God damn, you keep it tight, man. That's impressive.
Behind the scenes, that was not good.
You put honey in your tea, don't you?
You should have seen the butt cheeks on that guy.
Yeah, it's true. You're looking at from behind. I envy you, buddy.
So let's go out here. I think an appropriate way to go out
with a bang. Let's go out with a bang.
Hold on. Well, Augie says the book bar code now. The new code is 3B_10. Augie 3B_10. Save yourself 10%, buddy.
There you go.
And I think we should go out with paying homage to Boba Fett and showing, of course, his escape from the Sarlacc. Exclusive footage. We had to get permission from Disney to show this. Yes, we did. And here it is.
A leaked clip of the upcoming
We're the worst.
Or are we the best? I mean, You know, when you think about it that way.
I think that
Come
would have
on.
made it into an episode pretty easy, actually.
Wasn't that
You
great?
think so? That's solid editing. Tyler did that. That was solid
Thank you,
editing.
buddy.
Yeah.
I thought when I had the idea, and I'm like, I'm gonna take Jim Carrey coming out of a rhino's ass, and I'm gonna put it on a Sarlacc. I was just laughing for days. I only had like a half an hour to put it together, but like I still just cracked up because it's the finger poking out that like I
know
couldn't stop
the beginning with
laughing
the
at
fingers. So
it
great.
just cracked me up. Well, there we have it. Hopefully, you're as excited about episode 4 as Obi-Wan is. And then we'll see you all next week to discuss it.
That's it for
really
us.
works out well, Howdy.
See you next week, everybody.